Hey everyone, it's Christine here for our live Wednesday sleep chat or parenting shenanigans. Today it's focused on sleep and fears, which can really play into a lot of different aspects of parenting. But this question actually came from two parents today on how to support kiddos in the middle of the night, especially with fears or nightmares, etc. So I love this topic, and helping to support parents on a topic that actually feels really vulnerable is really fun for me. I was a big worrier as a kid and even as a young adult, and have recently really overcome my fears and worries. So I feel really excited to share some of the tools that I now help parents use with their kiddos to try to prevent worrying and feeling alone, especially in that worry, right? That's one of our biggest fears as a parent. We want our child to feel safe and empowered to sleep independently in their own bed, but we don't want them to feel lonely and afraid while they do it. So my biggest tip, I have two really big ones, and I'm gonna sort of break each one down. My first one is not to talk about the fears at bedtime or in the middle of the night. That is not the time to get the brain focused on anxiety provoking material or thoughts or feelings. So you want to focus your attention on that during the daytime. Reassurance is what we do in the middle of the night. So reassurance to help calm the nervous system, and then some coaching on what kids can do to help themselves feel safe. So if you have a kiddo who's really struggling at the end of the bedtime routine, they know that this time is coming for them to rest their bodies and go to sleep. And the fear starts coming up for them about their inability to do that, because they might think about their fear, whatever it is. It could be a monster under their bed or something scary they saw in the media, which is a subcategory of this tip. Watch what your kids are watching in the media, because what you talk about, what your kids are seeing, can evoke a lot of fear in them, especially if they feel a lack of control around it. Okay, so our job at bedtime and in the middle of the night is to give them a lot of control. And we might remind them that everybody feels fear. So I love helping them to remember, you're not alone. I'm here with you. And sometimes I feel afraid. Here's how I help myself. So you might coach them through some of the thoughts and actions that you take when you feel afraid. But I also want you to make sure that they know what they can do when they feel afraid. So that's the coaching part. Whenever you feel afraid, you can snuggle and cuddle yourself up. So pull your covers up, get yourself really cozy, find the position that feels best to you. You're taking deep breaths that whole time, right? I don't like telling kids to take a deep breath and calm down, but if you're modeling it, then they're gonna follow you because of this thing called mirror neurons. So mirror that for them, and then be there. Just say, I'm right here with you. I'm gonna rub your back. I'm gonna sing your favorite bedtime song. And you might have a gratitude practice with them. So if they don't feel very tired when they hop into bed, and they might start bringing up things they're scared about, you're gonna say, remember, we don't talk about those things when it's dark. When you're in your bed, our focus is on what we're grateful for, the best thing that happened today, 5 people we love today, right? So you're gonna get the brain to shift its focus away from that sort of overthinking, the intrusive thoughts, etc., and gear it towards something that feels better, something that's going to change the chemistry of the brain in that moment, or what parts of the brain are lighting up. Okay. So gratitude, favorite things, people we love. Those are really great. That's a really great simple prompt that you can prompt any kid at any age to focus on. And I actually really like a you share one and I'll share one. You share one, I'll share one. And you can start slowing it down. You can start taking some time to think and then share a name, and then let your child share a name or a thing or an activity, etc., that they really love and feel grateful for. That back and forth is going to help to shift things away from a fear space, and then you can do a back massage and help kiddos get back to sleep. So reminding them what they can do is really, really important. And then during the day, you want to, so at nighttime we reassure, that's one tip. Reassure while we remind them that they can be independent, right? So if your only way of dealing with fear is just to bring your child back to bed with you, you're not giving them the tools to regulate themselves, right? To shift themselves out of a fear state. They may be calming down with your help and some co-regulation, but in the end, what we really want is for them to feel safe and empowered in their own cozy sleep space. Especially if that's where everyone happens to sleep best, right? If we get the best sleep in our own cozy sleep space, then that's what you want to be helping them get back to. So during the day, on the flip side, this is a time to dig in. Hey, last night you woke up, you had a nightmare, or you were thinking about something that scared you. This is the time to talk about it. Tell me what you thought in your mind. Tell me what you saw in your mind's eye. Tell me the scariest thing about that thought or that experience or that memory that came up for you. I love it when parents ask, what's the hardest part? What's the scariest part? What's the worst thing that happened in your dream or in your mind? Because you're communicating to them when you ask that question that you can hold all of their fears. You are strong enough, you're grounded enough, you're calm enough, you're sorted enough to take it all in, hold space for it, and then say, oh wow, that does sound really hard. I used to have a lot of fears when I was little, and you know, sometimes as an adult, I even have my own adult fears. So you are not alone. Everyone has fears, and we all learn different ways of dealing with them. You might talk about that for a little while, and then in the same conversation, if they have the patience and the interest, you might add, do you want to hear my suggestion for how to beat your fears or how to make the other parts of your brain stronger than your fear? And if they do want to hear more, they might not, right? That might be a conversation you need to bring up at another time when they're feeling resourced. But one of my favorite ways for beating fear is thinking of my fear as being just one person on my road trip of life, right? This journey that we take through life in a car, and who am I gonna let drive? Am I gonna let fear drive the car, or am I gonna let joy? Am I gonna let gratitude? Am I gonna let creativity? Am I gonna let intelligence? Am I going to let excitement? And am I going to let the cooperative, patient character drive my car? So there's all these characters in the car, and one person gets to be the driver, and then another person gets to be the navigator, and somebody else gets to work the radio station, right? Everybody has a different job, and you need to think about what your road trip through life is going to be like if you let fear sit in the driver's seat and choose the music and do the navigating all the time. It's not going to be a super joyful experience if every day you're giving up your power to fear and letting them drive. So what would it look like if Joy sat in the driver's seat and fear was just in back being like, hey, you might want to think about wearing a helmet or being sure to put your seatbelts on, right? Those are great suggestions, fear. Thank you. We'll take them. But when it comes to nighttime, I want the confident person sitting in that car seat reminding me I am safe. I want the creative, grateful, or excited person sitting in the driver's seat reminding me that I have lots of problem-solving skills, right? This is a super fun way that I like to remind my kiddos, because we've had this conversation about who's in the driver's seat. I can just say, it sounds like fear's really been in the driver's seat a lot lately. What's coming up that's causing that, do you think? Right? We might dig deeper and get under the iceberg a little bit about what's causing that. And that's super helpful. Your curiosity, your empathy, your validation, everyone feels fear, is going to help calm them down, right? Because one of the hardest things about fear is knowing that we are the only one. Because most people we see walking around the world are not completely overcome with fear. And they might be, they're just not showing us, right? So our kiddos need us to say fear is a really normal part of being human. And every day we get to decide how we're going to act on that fear. Are we going to boot fear out of the driver's seat and tell them to hop in back and say, your fears have been noted, and I'm going to move forward from a place of confidence, strength, support, connection to my family members, because I know that I have the resources to calm myself down. Okay? And honestly, your child does. If they can access them, they have the resources to calm themselves down. So this is where utilizing books on breathing. There's some really great breathing. One of my favorite books is Breathe Like a Bear, and I will remember the author's name at some point, I'm sure, or put it in the notes. Breathe Like a Bear is a great one. It has a bunch of different exercises that you can use with a wide variety of age ranges to talk about breathing and calming techniques. But I really like these techniques about who's driving the car to help kids change their thoughts. Because when they change their thoughts, then they can change the way they feel, right? How is it going to feel different to have gratitude driving the car at the end of the day, heading off into the bedtime sunset? It's going to feel a lot different. Playing around with this is going to take some practice. But the great news is you will have a lifetime to talk about fear with your child, because it doesn't begin and end at bedtime with a toddler, right? As we get older, our fears get more intense and actually more real. And we want our kids to feel safe coming to us with their fear, not judged. And we want them to know that we are the person that they get to explore their fears with. And we're going to ask them questions. We're going to get really curious. We're going to offer them different ways of looking at their fear. And then we're going to ask, what's the best way for me to support you around this fear? What would it look like? What can I do? What can I say? How can I help you navigate this fear? And then you might do some problem solving together. I don't prefer things like monster spray or what are other things that we oftentimes, like using a flashlight or a special way to like get the monsters away or out of the closet or from under the bed, because that just emphasizes the fact that you believe there are monsters under the bed, right? And what we really want to say is, there aren't really monsters like in the book that we read or the movie that we watched under your bed. You are in a safe room. You are in a safe home. You are in a safe body. How can you breathe into that safety? I'm here to help remind you of that. So that's a really great tool that you can use, is this idea. Like, I am here to remind you that you are safe, but you don't need me to be here every moment of the day reminding you of that. The best thing I can do as a parent is to give you the tools to feel safe and see yourself driving your car with fear in the back seat, not looking at the maps and running the radio station. Yeah? What questions come up for you around fear? What scenarios have you experienced with your kiddos? I'd love for you to leave a comment and share some of the things that come up when you think about your kiddos and reassuring them in regards to fear. Know that you are not alone. This is a really common concern, and one that makes parents feel really vulnerable and scared themselves. I think, like one of my parents said today, like all they can do when their kiddo is scared is think back to their own experience of being scared. as a child. And boy, I really resonate with that. And I mean, honestly, there are lots of things in the world as adults that are very unsettling and scary. So being able to validate our own fears and also being able to come back to the fact that there are lots of things we can't control. But one thing we can control is the way that we think about fear and how often we let fear drive our thoughts and our actions. Because there's a time for that. And then there's a time to remember that you are safe and loved and deeply connected, and you can relax into that. That's safety in that community, that being held. Try some of these things. Let me know how it goes. I have so many suggestions on fear and insecurity and worry. So if you're needing more support, feel free to book a call and we can create a plan just for you and your child's age and your child's concern. These are the things I love to help parents with. So I'm always here for that. I hope you're having a lovely Wednesday. And if you have any other questions, let me know. Thanks for chiming in.